Okay, well, it's time to begin. Maybe we can just kind of give our energy back to the back of the room and invite those to join us here in the fellowship hall. But hey, we're going to jam anyway, right? Those who are here, you ready to sing? Okay, cool. We've got a really special treat for you guys today. Lorelai, Chris, will you stand up and wave, at least to our online viewers who are with us and those in the fellowship hall? These are my two students from K College, and they're going to both be playing saxophone for you today. All three of us will have saxophones at one point today, and that will be a saxophone trio for one of your special music portions of the service. We're really looking forward to that. And we will look forward to hearing a little bit from each of those performers and who they are and where they come from and all that stuff. Gotcha. So we're going to hold for just a minute and wait for Tim.
Down the road.
Yeah.
The saxophone.
Guys, we're doing down the road first.
We can start that now.
Down the road. Saxophone piece first before we're doing that. So sorry. For prelude. That's my fault. I didn't say anything. So as soon as the saxophone solo is done.
No problem. So Lorelai, you can come on up, actually. I'm going to introduce you right now and let you say a couple words about yourself. We've got Tim back on our slideshow. A little bit of a rough start this morning, but that's all right. Lorelai, if you wouldn't mind, could you speak into that microphone and just tell us maybe a little bit more about yourself, what you're doing at K, where you're from, all that good stuff. Just a really short intro. That'd be wonderful.
So I'm Lorelai. I'm a freshman at Kalamazoo College. Currently I'm studying English. And I'm going to be playing Down the Road for you guys today, a little blues piece.
And can you tell them, Lorelai, this is not your primary instrument, correct?
No, so my main instrument is flute, and I also play piano, and I just picked up saxophone this February.
Yeah, like 4 months ago, and she's rocking. So yeah, I'm just immensely proud. Yeah, she's done a great job. And we're both of us are gonna do a jazz piece today, right? So she said this one is Down the Road by James Power, and here we go. You ready, band? John Moody and Carolyn Keeble on the other aspects of the band this morning. Thank you very much. Here we go. I won't. and on to the normal part of our service with our praise music portion. And we have 2 new song leaders for you today. Isn't this exciting? Joe and Mary Ann. They're doing a great job. So make sure you lift your voices up with them as we stand and sing "We Shall Overcome." Thanks.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. The Lord will see us through. The Lord will see us through. The Lord will see us through someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday. One life, one love, one peace in our lifetime. One life at a time. One truth, one world, one peace in our lifetime. One life at a time. One life, one love, one life at a time. One truth, one world, one life at a time. One voice, one choice, one peace in our lifetime. One life at a time. One prayer, one dream, one peace in our lifetime. One life at a time. One voice, one choice, one life at a time. One prayer, one dream, one life at a time. One life, one love, one peace in our lifetime. One life at a time. One truth, one world, one peace in our lifetime. One life at a time. One life, one love, one life at
Well, thank you to all the musicians this morning. My name is Barbara Galati. One second. Here we go. My name is Barbara Galati, your platform person today. And thank you for all those helping us today, the hospitality, ushers, script, bookstore, streaming, sound, PowerPoint, and our youth leaders, and of course, our wonderful music team. If this is your first time today, thank you for being here. We would love to have you join us and fill out an information card that you will find in the pew pocket. Ta-da! Yellow card. And after the service, return it to an usher. They have a small gift for you. So our announcements today: new member class starts this Thursday, June 1st. Please make sure you are signed up, and it's open to anyone actually it's open to anyone wanting to refresh their knowledge about Unity. See the flyer out on the counter and sign up. June 3rd is Pride Day in downtown Kalamazoo. If you're planning on attending, please feel free to pick up about 20 goodie bags in the lobby and take them with you to hand out. We need ambassadors to greet folks and encourage them to come try out our church. There is only one church table for all the churches, so we need some people to hang out around that table and hand these out. June 4th's talk is The Longest Day with Reverend Judy, and on June 7th we will have a screening of the movie 13, which talks about the use of institutional racism in the United States, and while the 13th Amendment freed slaves, systems were then put in place to keep black and brown people oppressed. Please sign up to reserve your seat at the Unity Theater. On June 11th, we will have our second Sunday spiritual cafe upstairs in the Fellowship Hall. And on the 18th, Donna Odom will be our guest speaker talking about the spirit of Juneteenth. And then in July, she will be leading a workshop for personal and community transformation. So there's a lot happening. Please stay informed by our e-zine on the internet. So let us join in our mission statement. As an all-inclusive community, we awaken to spirit, grow into our soul, and build a better world. And our vision statement: we celebrate a world of ever-awakening consciousness, abundance, peace, and love for all. And our core values: love, authenticity, stewardship, oneness, and playfulness, and our land and labor acknowledgement. Our spiritual community pays reverence and respect to all Black, Indigenous, and people of color whose lands and labor were forcibly taken. Racism, discrimination, and oppression in any form. And I don't think we have any kids today, but let's just rub our hands together and bless them anyway, whether they're here or not. And we can say, as you go your way, you are loved, special, and important to us.
We're a forgivable crowd, right? Thanks, Barb.
Think about those love. Think about the goodness. Think about the grace that brought us through. For as high as the heavens above,
Good morning, everyone. The word for today is comfort. There may be days or maybe even weeks on the calendar when I find myself mysteriously feeling melancholy or blue, only to realize that the anniversary of someone or something that I have loved and lost is approaching. Even when I don't realize it outright, a part of me remembers and responds. I can honor these feelings as a way to honor the people and the places that have taught me and have helped me to evolve. Welcoming my feelings brings deep and abiding comfort. I carry those people and places in love with me in the things I do, keeping their spirit alive. Gradually, I find smiles within the sadness. Revisiting treasured memories reveals the love within the loss. The presence of God is found within the gift of each moment, and I find comfort through my grateful heart. And from Psalm 119, verse 76, let your steadfast love become my comfort according to your promise to your servant. So I invite you now just to, first and foremost, just be comfortable. Be comfortable in your seat. And be comfortable in this place where you are surrounded by loving souls committed to sharing their journey with you. Committed to sharing their good works with this community. And committed to be there to comfort each other when we go through tough times. And that's why it's good to think about the love. And think about the grace that's brought us through. Because that indeed is the measure of God's love for us that comes to us as God expressing in each and every one of us. And the more God we express, the more good we bring into the world. And it is by being and bringing our good into the world that not only do we comfort each other, but together we find peace of mind. We know the truth of our being as divine expressions. And we know that as we express all of that God love into the world, we bring that light and love, we bring peace. And we make a difference, one life at a time. So let that truth, let that divine energy simply fill your heart in these few moments of prayer and reflection. And as your heart fills with that love and is comforted by that presence, know that you are safe, you are loved, you are blessed, and you are a blessing. Your presence matters. You make a difference. And that God expressing as you is the grace that brings us through. And so I invite you now just to take a few moments in the silence to simply reflect on that grace, that mysterious joy that brought you through a difficult time, the right thing at the right time from the right person. It's all grace. And when we express God, we bring that grace into the world. So think about the love. And think about that grace as we take a few moments now in silent prayer. I invite you to bring your attention back to this room and to this time and place. And as we think about that word for today, that word comfort, I want to share with you the affirmation for today as well. Loving memories comfort me. I'll say that once more and then invite you to join me the third time through. Loving memories comfort me. Together. Loving memories comfort me. And so as we think about that grace and that peace and that love that has brought us through, we know how great is the measure of God's love for us. Amen. And so it is, and so we let it be.
So we've heard from Lorelai at the beginning of the service today. She did a great job, didn't she? Very proud. So
this is Ashokan Farewell, and it was part of the soundtrack for the, correct me if I'm wrong, Judy, the PBS? Civil War. There we go, the documentary series. Thank you, Chris. And it's originally written for string instruments, so kind of lend your ear in that direction, but I think it sounds pretty cool on saxophone. This is Chris also that you're going to hear from in a little bit. I'll let him do his introduction in a few minutes for the last portion of music this afternoon, or this morning, excuse me, man. All right, here we go. Ashokan Farewell. Ready?
I want to thank everyone for their amazing contributions this morning. I hope I can keep up. Most of you, I think, probably have seen at least some portion, if not all, of that entire Ken Burns special about the Civil War, which amazingly, the majority of that story was told almost exclusively through photographs, letters, and music. No, chase scenes and any of those things that, we see in so many other places. It was very thoughtful, very personal, and very tender. And so, tomorrow as we celebrate Memorial Day, I didn't know. I learned a lot in researching this past couple of weeks. I did not know that the holiday actually evolved from the Civil War as Americans, Northern, Southern, black and white, struggled to honor the staggering numbers of dead. They estimate about 620,000 soldiers were killed on both sides. And significantly, that number was about the equivalent of 2% of our entire population as a country at that time. There are several places in the United States that lay claim to being the birthplace of Memorial Day. One of the earliest accounts comes from Pennsylvania, where 3 women are said to have placed flowers and wreaths on the graves of the men from their town who had been buried there, those who died serving the Union during the Civil War. But just 1 month after the war ended in May of 1865, a large procession was held in the ruined city of Charleston, South Carolina, by thousands of Black Americans to commemorate the lives of Union captives who had been buried in a mass grave at a former race course near their town. That service was led by some 3,000 school children who carried roses and were singing John Brown's Body. Hundreds of women followed with baskets of flowers, wreaths, and crosses. Here's another thing that I did not know, and this one, how this escaped me, I'll never figure out. I love history. I enrolled in college as a music major, and I had no idea until just recently that the Battle Hymn of the Republic is a religious adaptation of the Union marching song, John Brown's Body. So for what it's worth, I think they need to teach us more in school, not less. Since the 1860s, Memorial Day has, as an observance, has come to include those who died in subsequent wars or military actions. And the first to be added was World War I. And for some reason, this is kind of where I thought it had started, with World War I. I did not realize that it was followed on to the Civil War. But World War I was the first one that was added to the original Memorial Day celebration. And while we came to the war very lately, and we suffered many casualties, England, Germany, and France lost an entire generation of men to death and traumatic injury. And then, of course, World War II was next, described as the war to end all wars, right? It was a global conflict, and it took us right to the doorstep of a nuclear nightmare that actually rang the bell twice. Once in the sky over Hiroshima, and once in the sky over Nagasaki. And in more recent times, we've added the undeclared wars that were fought in Korea, Vietnam, Iran, and Afghanistan. Before the Civil War was even over, in 1863, while the war was still going on, President Lincoln spoke at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And this was the very first cemetery that was created for and dedicated exclusively to those who had lost their lives in military service. And this was 4.5 months after the Union Army had defeated those of the Confederacy in a very decisive battle at Gettysburg. So the Battle of Gettysburg was fought over a 3-day period. And when it was over, the bodies of over 7,500 soldiers covered the battlefield. Now, this small town had just over 2,000 people. So for every man, woman, and child who lived in Gettysburg, 3 soldiers died in that battle that changed the course of the war between the states. And the Gettysburg Address is the speech that Lincoln wrote and delivered at that ceremony to dedicate the cemetery that was exclusively for the soldiers killed in that battle. And Lincoln said, we cannot dedicate or consecrate that place because that work had already been done by those who died there. Instead, he said, our task was to dedicate ourselves to finishing the work, to take increased devotion to that cause for which they had given the last full measure of devotion. He challenged the living to resolve that the dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Clearly, that work is still not finished. A quick survey of headlines from around the country on any given day is proof positive that there is still much work to be done to further the cause of freedom and justice. And in addition to the issues of freedom and justice that sparked the Civil War, the peace that we have fought for in so many battles since then continues to elude us. Unspeakable horrors and enormous human suffering continues day after day. So much so that we really kind of have to ask ourselves the question, do we really want peace in our lifetime? And if we do, what are we willing to change? What are we willing to do differently to manifest it? One of the most powerful intentions for peace that we can cultivate and practice is to make a commitment to live ethically. in a book called Essential Spirituality, the 7 central practices to awaken heart and mind. Roger Walsh tells us that the practice of ethics is terribly misunderstood, and the cost of this misunderstanding is enormous. Ethics is not a series of burdensome rules or reporting requirements that force us to live from the outside in to ensure that we behave ourselves and don't do anything questionable. Ethics isn't just about the kinds of conversations we're having right now about our Supreme Court. But ethical living is really as simple and as straightforward as you could possibly imagine. It's about being kind. It's about being compassionate. And it's about being truthful. Kindness, compassion, and truth. That's what constitutes ethical living. In Christianity, it shows up as the Golden Rule. In Confucianism, it's called the Silver Rule. When challenged to explain the essence of Judaism in the time that he could remain standing on one foot, a Jewish sage immediately responded that which is hurtful to you, don't do to your neighbor. That is the essence of the faith. That's the whole doctrine. Now, we've known this since we were little kids. Most of us probably heard about the Golden Rule in grade school, in elementary school. And certainly probably by the time we were 10 years old, most of us clearly understood what that was all about. So for whatever reasons, it needs to have some more stickum put on, because it needs to sink in a little deeper than it has been so far. And if we've known it for that long and it really is that simple, are we being simplistic to think that we can really change the world with kindness, compassion, and truth? Will that really put an end to hundreds of years of injustice? Is peace in our lifetime really possible? Well, the answer is yes. We can change the world with kindness, compassion, and truth. We can put an end to injustice, and we can create peace in our lifetime by living ethically. And the reason why that is all possible and doable is because of the law of mind action. The consciousness we live from creates our experience of life. Likewise, what we intend for others, we create for ourselves. And that's not just another way of saying what goes around comes around. There's some real research and science behind this. And this is part of the ancient wisdom that we have been living with for thousands of years. So there's something to it. The part that we sometimes fail to look at is the effects of unethical behavior. And what the ancient wise ones and sages tell us, and what psychologists tell us, is that unethical behavior tends to be self-perpetuating. Because not only does it spring from a destructive state of mind, an unhealthy place, it also reinforces that stuff, that thinking. So when we lash out in anger, or we lie about something because we're afraid, we drive these emotions deeper into our brains. Psychologically, it's called conditioning. In spiritual terms, we're imprinting destructive karma and patterns on our souls. What we do, we become. And little things over time add up as consciousness becomes imprinted with rationalizations and justifications for why we made the poor choices that we've made. Mean-spirited, cruel, or dishonest behavior often results in feelings of fear, guilt, paranoia, defensiveness, right? And we find ourselves in kind of this state of self-made mental hell, right? Consciousness. Life is consciousness. Hell is a state of mind, right? We put ourselves into this state of mental hell that agitates and aggravates us. And then it hangs over us kind of like a cloud. And it nibbles away at our peace of mind, and it nibbles away at our ability to be clear in our thinking and in our actions. When our actions are out of alignment with principle, our brain creates kind of this residue. There's no other way to describe it. That word comes up over and over in Walsh's book, in this segments dealing with ethics. There's just this residue of gunk, all right, that saturates our thinking until we figure out how to come clean, until we work through our stuff. And that might involve making amends. That might involve apologizing. It could involve any number of things. But when that stuff comes up from you and we react negatively to it, we just might as well put on the grow light and put a little more water and fertilizer down, because it's gonna thrive, all right? And here's what I'm really finally starting to get about this. I can be a good person 90% of the time, right? Most of us probably are good people 90% of the time. But that 10%, that is not who we came here to be. That 10%, that's not who we want to express. that 10% gets really deep roots. And it's like trying to live with a low-level infection that you just can't get rid of. So it's not about the 90%, because by now, probably a lot of that 90% is coming naturally to us. You know, human nature. We all have that divine energy in us. We are inherently good because there's only one power and one presence in our life, and it's God the good. So we can't just sit on our laurels and say, good job 90% of the time. Because it's that 10% really that is the breakthrough part of it. It's the part that allows us to do crappy things. And at some level, the fact that we tolerate that in ourselves is a little bit of a toleration for other people to do it. You know, and we have our thoughts about who can get away with it and who can't. But nonetheless, it allows that unethical behavior to exist and to persist. And maybe maybe it's not thriving, but it's surviving, and it's out there. And in many ways, in some degrees, it is in us. And we have to go the extra mile. We have to finish the work to honor what's been started, right? You know that song, God who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. We need to exhibit that last full measure of devotion. And kudos, blessings, good on you for all of the good stuff that you do. But we're not done yet. The work continues. And that really is the threshold of each individual spiritual awakening, right? Mine is going to be different than yours and different than his, but it's moving across that threshold. Being willing to flip on the light and see what's there and say, like, oh man, that is not who or how I want to be. And I'm going to find a way to rinse this junk right out of my soul. When our actions are out of alignment with principle, our brain creates a residue that saturates our thinking. And it'll be there, unresolved and unhealed, and it will haunt us until we find a way to deal with it. Mindfulness meditation is a great tool to help us identify that which is unresolved, that which needs our attention. We talk about it bumping into our growing edges. We talk about projecting. We know all the terms, right? And boy, what great conversations you can have talking about it all. We got to do something about it. So sometimes we just have to sit with stuff when we find ourselves in that place and say, okay, time out. And nothing about you. I need time out to figure out what's coming up for me. What is it that's triggering me? What is it that's unresolved and needs my attention? Because once we can figure out what's missing for us, well, okay, now I got some choices. I can say, you know, what was missing for me was this. And when that came up for me, when I observed that, this is what I felt. And when I felt that, I acted like this. And so now that I know what's missing for me, I can either let it go and say, well, that's just a false demand. You know, I'm mad at you because my teacher didn't give me a star on that final report. I think I can let you off the hook for that. But if it's not something that we can let go of easily or with a little effort, then we really need to think about what's coming up, what's missing, and how can I claim what it is that I need. Because if our needs aren't met, we're going to find some way to act out about it, you know? Because it ain't never about the socks on the floor. So we have to figure out a way to say, this would be really helpful to me. I would feel safer if. We have to be willing to claim our needs and find a way then, work to getting them met. And it's a constant battle, okay? It's like, no, I wanted you to do it that way. Yeah, I know you did this over here, and that's really nice, but that's not what I want. You know, forget about the fact that it's not in a blue Tiffany box with a ribbon, okay? Take it as a step forward. You're working on your stuff. I'm working on my stuff. And here we are, we're taking these steps together. So, we've got lots of tools and support, and people here to support us when we're willing, ready, and able to do the work. So don't be afraid to cross that threshold and go after that residue. Go after that 10%. Memorial Day was formalized to honor those who served and died in military service to our country. Unfortunately, that's not the way most people will be spending their time. A component of us will, and some portion of the day will, and flags will be waved, and parades will occur, and jets will fly over, and people will put flowers on the graves. But if we really want to remember them and honor them, we're going to spend some time thinking about what is ours to do. Because it's more than just the unofficial start of summer. It's more than just a day for cookouts and day at the beach, auto races. It's more than a bank holiday. It's more than the fact that the postman doesn't deliver. It's way, way bigger than that. If we're going to finish the work that they started. We should spend some time, not only today and tomorrow, but every day, thinking about Lincoln's invitation to dedicate ourselves to finishing the work, to take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. We should really consider what it means to live ethically and look for every opportunity that we can to be kind, to be compassionate, and to tell the truth. If we dedicate ourselves to right action and right speech, and we do our work to heal the past, every step we take along this path of living ethically will bring us one step closer to peace in our lifetime. One voice, one choice, one peace in our lifetime, one life at a time, one prayer, one dream, one peace in our lifetime, one life at a time. God bless you, and have an amazingly ethical week. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy, for that message. Two things stood out to me from the Gettysburg Address, that all of that was for a new birth of freedom. And what's my role in helping to bring that about, to get that 10% washed out, is kindness, compassion, and truth. So thank you. Now, if you'll join me in the board affirmation, and I'm Joe Daly, member of your Board of Trustees. My eyes can see the beautiful potential within and around me. And now the offertory blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Brian's putting me on right now.
All right, so this is yet another saxophone performance. This is Chris, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself. Why don't you just talk into the purple here, Chris?
1, 2, cool. Hello, my name is Chris. I go to Cage College as well. I'm a first year studying computer science, minor in Chinese, a little bit of music. I'll be playing Fly Me to the Moon. I'm sure you guys know this tune. So, please enjoy.
So we pray over our offerings. Divine Spirit, we take this time to be aware and grateful of all our many blessings. Our tithes and love offerings are given with gratitude and love for our church community in order that we may continue our work here in Kalamazoo. We thank all who gave today and throughout the week, and we pray that the Christ light continues to shine brightly in each of our hearts, and we send that light forward to surround our nation and our world in the warm glow of oneness. We are all one with God, and we know and affirm all is well. Amen. So as we bring our service to a close, I invite you to please stand and join me in our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And now as we close with the peace song, if you are comfortable, you may hold hands with your neighbor or just place your hand over your heart and connect within.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Which one? Peace. Great. With all the other maneuvers.